Hi gang, Rebecca here, your best friend in your dating journey, in your love life. If you're new to my channel, go ahead and click subscribe, and now let's dive in. Okay gang, so I want to talk to you about how having a step parent, a stepdad, a stepmom can impact your romantic relationships today and what to do about it. Okay, so the reason that I understand this and I know this and I figured this out and I realized there's an impact of having step parents that can show up later in your life in romantic relationships is because I had multiple step parents, meaning my dad married multiple times, so I had multiple different stepmoms. And I didn't understand how that was impacting my relationships today until I started taking inquiry and doing ton of studying, which I want to share with you today. So if you've had a step parent or multiple, it's really valuable to have this information, understand yourself even better, to support yourself and into having more connected, healthy, conscious relationships. Because when we have awareness around maybe certain behaviors, certain fights, certain patterns, that awareness can help us transform to then create the relationship that we truly want. So the reason that can impact us now as a young child, right? As maybe 8, maybe 12, maybe 16, who knows how old, say that your parent marries someone else or gets into a relationship with someone else. Now as a child, you are looking to your mom or your dad and you are thinking, I want emotional attention from you. And you naturally want your biological parents to be together. You naturally, it's just the way we're wired. We want our parents to be together. And what happens is when they divorce, there's a number of beliefs that we can make up about marriage when that happens. Okay, but that's a whole other video. Let's just use the example of a dad ends up with another woman, and what's happening as a child is we are wanting our emotional attention. We're wanting attention from our father. We're wanting them to be present with us. And then when this outsider, who's not our biological mom, comes into the photo, we as a little kid are seeing them as emotional competition. So we are seeing this new human who our dad is now spending time with as emotional competition. Right? They're a threat to us. They're a threat to our survival, our survival, because that's what our reptilian brain is saying, because we're wanting all of our attention and presence from our father, right? And now this new person isn't our mom. They're not our biological mom. Therefore, they're just a threat to our needs getting met. So now how does this impact a romantic relationship later? So I learned this one the hard way. What happens is when we then get into a relationship, a lot of times we attract a partner who can mirror the good and bad traits of our mother and father. Okay, so I'll use the example of a woman. Another woman comes around that relationship, right? So here's the romantic partner in my hand. And now another woman, maybe just a friend, maybe a colleague, and it could be anyone. It could even be a family member, it could be anyone, starts coming around. We can perceive that person or that woman as our stepmom, a projection from our childhood. Therefore, they are emotional competition. They are a threat to this romantic relationship. And now the way that this can show up is if we don't have this awareness, what's happening is we're in our romantic relationships, we experience fear of betrayal, we experience jealousy, we experience wanting to control, we experience all of these kind of lower vibration emotions, thoughts. They're coming from fear, which is just fine. It's just undealt with, trauma or just not having awareness around it. We can absolutely dissolve it and work towards a healthier relationship. So those are some of the signs that this may be going on. Now, with the awareness in the relationship, in a romantic relationship, of that being a personal trigger for me, maybe for you, of like, oh my gosh, I now realize that I'm perceiving or projecting that there's emotional competition at play that's actually rooted in childhood when it's not really a reality. I mean, it is a reality if we're constantly still operating in that program. So that's what's making it real, right? We will find evidence all day long. But in having the awareness, what we can then do is in the romantic relationship, whenever the trigger comes up, whenever the thought, the feeling, the emotion of like there's a threat, the alarms go off, right? All the alarms go off and you want to maybe fight, you want to flight, maybe you're planning leaving the country, right? Like, I know I do that. I'm literally in my head and I'm plotting my exit strategy. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get a place here, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna have to leave this way. Like, I know when I'm exiting, when I'm plotting, that I'm in the trigger that's rooted in childhood. So having that awareness is super helpful. There was not a time when I was always aware of this. It was more so the reality, and I would run from all my relationships, okay? So I really hope that this makes a difference for you. So now when the trigger comes up, you wanna stop and ask, like, okay, what is it that I'm afraid of? Right? So say there's a person coming around and you feel like it's a threat. And one thing I've discovered is I've thought, like, the fear that I've been afraid of is I'm not going to get playtime, right? Like, which I just want to play and have fun. Or I'm projecting that I'm not going to get the attention, the one-on-one quality time that I want. So when we identify what those specific fears are, we can then look at, okay, that's what it is. Now, and then ask the question, after you've identified what it is, what would it be like if I was willing to trust that I was going to have blank? Blank being whatever it is that you're afraid you won't get, right? So what would it be like if I was willing to trust that I will still get quality time and presence and to be able to play, right? Whatever it is. What would it be like if I was willing to trust? And you want to ask that question and open into it and really look and feel and think of, like, what would it be like if I was willing to trust that? And what this question in particular is going to help you do, it's going to open your prefrontal cortex, and it's going to allow you to start to create new pathways to create something new in relationship to get your needs met versus running or avoiding or staying in the childhood pattern of trauma from fearing not getting your needs met from having a step parent, right? Because it's not the step parent's fault. And if anything, right, our parents should go out and they should be the example and seek to create a healthy, loving, conscious relationship. And as a young child, we're wired to want our biological parents together. And then we can create beliefs about not getting our needs met when we have the emotional competition. So it's really helpful to have that awareness if you've had a stepmom, if you've had a stepdad, and if you're having these different relationships where you find yourself feeling like you need to run, or you feel like your needs aren't going to get met, right? Or that someone's a constant threat to your needs. And the fear of betrayal is also a great way to identify that, right? Because betrayal involves three parties. There's you, there's the person that something that you're wanting to protect, and then there's the third party, which is the threat, right? So if there's a fear of betrayal, we feel like there's this lurking threat that's around when it's not in the external environment, or it is, but it's something that I'm doing air quotes because there isn't a real threat because you're always safe, right? Continue to watch my videos to support yourself in knowing that, to have that confidence in dating and in relationship, okay? So when we can identify whenever the fear of betrayal comes up and we can observe it and ask those questions that I gave you earlier in the video, it's going to really transform your relationships into feeling more connection, feeling more intimacy, feeling at home, and really feeling that safety that you desire in relationship. So I hope that this video made a difference for you. If it did, give it a big thumbs up. And yes, if you have not already downloaded my free PDF on the 3 biggest mistakes that I see good-hearted single women make and how to avoid those mistakes, how to avoid those traps in dating, then just click the link below and download them. They are all yours, and I hope that it makes a difference for you, and I will see you in the next video. Mwah!